Greetings one and all, and thank you for watching my recent videos, much appreciated. And I had a few book sales as well, thank you very much. My books are still available obviously on Amazon and through my website. And then somebody pointed out to me that Exercising Witches is not on my website. I did forget to put that up on there, but it's available through Amazon in various countries at the moment. It was a book that I had a couple of publishers interested in, but they wanted to change the content and make it much more horrific, grotesque, and they didn't seem to understand the whole point of the book, of it being of how we transform our demons. They're all about destroying, death, when we should be helping each other to all transform each other and work to help every person find their angel and to be able to transform the demon that's with them. So that was quite interesting to have to explain that to a few people. That's why I ended up doing it through Amazon, because I saw that they were looking for what was it my friend was saying, a shock value and a titillizing, which is a word I do not like, but my friend said that's what they're looking for. Sensationalism was what I was coming back with, though I think my book is quite sensationalistic, and I don't think there's any fiction story like it anywhere in the world, because nobody else has written on this very subject. So it's quite a unique book, but of course the dark forces will do their best to make sure you don't read it, because they don't want you to know how to defeat the dark forces. Anyway, enough about me. I wanted to do a little show on something that's been on my mind in the last few days, because I've been talking to a lot of people. I've noticed the last 2 weeks, and I think someone was explaining to me, an astrologer, that it was to do with Pluto squaring the sun, that a lot of people have come out of the woodwork, and a lot of people are talking about things that, again, going down the dark rabbit holes or the conspiracy theories. And I know they are seeking truth. I understand they are seeking truth, but they are just going down some weird paths. And I was saying to some of them that I myself am more concentrating on inner work these last year or so, because they were saying I've not been around, I'm not running the workshops I was doing, or I wasn't putting on so many talks that I used to do. Still do my reading groups at Steiner House and do the odd talk here and there. And I was saying to them, yes, I was kind of retreating a bit. I wish I could retreat for months on end. I know Gurdjieff and such like say that's not always a good thing. It is good to go off for a little while. It's always when you come back that you are really tested, especially with your family. But I just needed a few months or even this year, to be honest, this year's flown by, to gather my thoughts, reconnect with what I was working on, rebuild myself in many ways, because I was sinking into, well, actually I'm not going to go down there, it doesn't matter what was happening to me. But I was trying to explain inner work is just as important as outer work. It's all well and good that we all meet up, and that we all meet up and have a little chat about spiritual matters. But what are you doing behind the scenes? You know, what are you working on? Are you doing inner development? And I know for many people, going to these lectures or talks or workshops is a wonderful social thing. It's a great way of meeting other like-minded people. But that should not be the only way you're working on yourself. And then I was reading a book by Judith von Haller, who I'm quite new to. I've known of her, but I've only recently managed to get her books because they're quite hard to get hold of. And she said something that I felt rang true with a lot of what's going on in what I call the spiritual development people. She was saying, I'm just going to read a paragraph of what she said here. Intensive engagement with and study of the most incisive occult problems of our time is still largely suppressed and avoided in today's anthroposophic movement. I'm just going to end the quote there, because I should say I've got this from The Descent into the Depths of the Earth on the Anthroposophic Path of Schooling. Now, she's talking about anthroposophy here, but I'm finding that in a lot of different pathways. There is not intensive engagement. Everyone seems to be doing a very shallow walk across things, or they start going on what I would consider the right path of thought and feeling, and then suddenly they dip off onto some kind of new fad that's come along that might take them off in the wrong way. But I also notice from various groups that I go to that intensive engagement with the study of the most incisive occult problems of our time is not really happening, because it is, as she says here, largely suppressed and avoided in today's, well, she's saying anthroposophic movement. I see it in a lot of movements. They don't want to go deep. I used to love going to the college psychic studies, and someone brought that up to me the other day and said, I haven't seen you there for a long time. But I found that was now no longer doing intense workshops or diving deeper into the occult problems of today. It was all wishy-washy, new age, connect with your angel, but very beginners stuff. So where do you go and find the more intense workshops? It's difficult to find people that want to go a bit deeper. Why is this being stopped? I'm sure you've all got your own answers, and I believe it's because we are in this spiritual war that's going on. And even that gets poo-pooed these days about whether this is a spiritual war or not, which is why I've titled this Spiritual War or Superstitious Nonsense, because I get that thrown at me a lot. But I've also noticed it quite a lot in the various occult movements, that sometimes they're looking at everything far too rationally. So I just wanted to say that I strongly agree with Judith von Haller here. Even Rudolf Steiner noted that the majority of members were not ready for what he was telling everyone, or what he was trying to pass on to people. He could study a group in front of him and see what level they were at and whether he should go deep or not. And, sadly, he couldn't that often because the members were not ready for it. But then I like to think that perhaps a kernel of this work went into their brain and will sprout or bud in the next incarnation or recurrence, which is the same for us. Like when I do my Gurdjieff shows, maybe it's helping you to find Gurdjieff in a new light that will go into your various centres and will work upon yourself. But I'm going to carry on a little bit with Judith von Haller. She says, likewise, the equally significant and striking utterances by Steiner about the mystery of the reappearance of the etheric Christ and the impulse of his adversary, the Antichrist, in the 20th and 21st centuries are only seldom examined, illumined, or cited, although the drastic nature of these comments, along with the radical form in which they were expressed, ought to place every student of anthroposophy on the highest alert. End quote. And I could say that about anything, not just anthroposophists. The Gurdjieff work should be awakening you to that there's a dark side and a light side, and we need to balance it all out. Theosophy maybe not so. I find theosophy quite rational and doesn't really go deep into the spiritual side of things. So I'm sure many theosophists will disagree with me. I'm pretty sure that's why Ouspensky left theosophy, because he was not being spiritually fulfilled, because it was all intellectual. Though Gurdjieff will go on to say that about Ouspensky himself later. And of course W.B. Yeats wanted an esoteric side of theosophy, and Blavatsky didn't want to do it, and in the end she did give in, because she saw that there were sincere pupils, or jailers as she would say, who wanted to go deeper into theosophy and look at the spiritual side of things. So just to carry on with Judith von Haller's paragraph, in perception of and engagements with this highly topical phenomenon of our times, a scarcely explicable kind of paralysis seems to have taken hold of human spirits. There seems no other way to explain this paralysis than as the latent effect of the power of the Antichrist himself. So, talking about spiritual war here, many people seem to want to avoid discussing it. Maybe they're struggling in themselves of their connection with the divine, with God, or becoming part of the working harmoniously with the divine source and the other hierarchies of the higher hierarchies, or even with your higher self. You know, people are still trapped in materialism. Materialism is a way of doing and thinking and being things without a spiritual turn on it, or a spiritual way of looking at things. But I know that everybody that comes to these kinds of movements and societies is because they are looking for something deeper. They know there's more to life than this materialism. So what's distracting them from doing a deeper spiritual, psychological, psychoanalyst, spiritual, scientific, deep dive? And of course, for many people, they come to a workshop or a class and a reading group, take it in, what they're, listen, or maybe they don't. Then they go home and carry on their life perhaps in a materialistic way. They get caught up in the entertainment of their TV, or, going to the local theatre, or it's good to support your local theatres. Let's keep amateur dramatics going. But, the entertainment world is a great way of distracting people from continuing their spiritual development. And somebody reminded me that the word entertainment, enter-tain-ment, enter, and she explained to me that tain is actually to do with mirrors. It is the backing of how they make a mirror. It's called taining. So isn't that interesting that entertainment is like, and you're entering into a mirror, an illusion, which TV is. And we should always remember, when you watch a TV fiction or a film that's fiction, we should be telling ourselves, this is fiction, don't get caught up in it. Because people do. I know so many people that are caught up in their soaps and mustn't miss a soap. I go down and do my shopping, and in the newspaper racks is soap worlds. You can even buy magazines on what's going on in the soaps this week. But isn't it sad that people are caught up in them kind of things? To people think that they should know that it's not real, but there's something about them, they're caught up into it. It's like a mirror, a reflection of their own lives. So we must remember that we're entering the mirror when it's watching or being entertained. And mirrors, of course, are created from sand. And sand, the sands of time. We leave footprints in the sand. And one of my favourite poems or psalms is the footprint story, where it tells us about how God always carries us wherever we are. When we're in the deepest, darkest pit, God is there to carry us. So I mainly wanted to do this little video because I was concerned about how many people know something's wrong, want to do something. They don't have that, I don't know if it's a fear, or if they can't find the right teachings to take them deeper, or whether they're struggling with the divine connection. So many people still are looking for a battle with, the Rothschilds or the New World Order and such like, and maybe we will have to go hand in hand in combat with them. I had a lady come to one of the recent reading groups that it was her first time there, was going on about what hill are we going to die on, and started bringing up all about the digital ID that's coming and things like that. Where would you give up everything? What hill are you going to die on? And I made the mistake of trying to say to her, shouldn't be listening into too much fear or doom scrolling, fear mongering. Try instead find and strengthen your own spiritual self so you can stand up and fight for your own right in a way that's, trying to explain this to her. And I'm now struggling to explain it to you, not in a materialistic way, but if you're strong in your heart and your head in your beliefs and faiths, it's a different kind of war. And it's all good because you can feel everybody at this time is being edged on, or we have lots of riots, lots of marches going on around the world, lots of war going on. So we're all being egged on to fight for our rights. And I'm trying to take a step back from that at the moment because I want to work on my inner self, because I feel I can get my inner self properly aligned. then my outer self will be able to express itself better. And my outer self will be able to be more balanced to contend with what could or could not be coming in the future. We cannot foresee, well, we can foresee what could happen if people follow patterns. But there's been a lot of surprises in these last few years, and that's why the whole world feels quite chaotic at the moment. But we must not be chaotic inside ourselves. We need to be obviously humble. We need to be more balanced. And we can do this by diving deeper into the spiritual understandings of what is going on in this world, the spiritual world, and in the heavens. But that does mean a deep dive into what are you looking at? What are you looking for? And a deeper dive into what many people would see as superstition, because we now live in the rational world. People don't want to think that there's dark forces manipulated humanity. People don't want to believe in the fact that there could be a devil pulling the strings. Though people are looking for an excuse, and I recently heard that there'd been a big survey last year, I think it was in America, and I know it happened in the UK too, but more people believed in the devil than believed in God. Now, isn't that interesting? What do you read from that? I find that intriguing in so many ways. Obviously, people are looking for someone to blame, but they're not looking for someone to save them or to find a way to find salvation. And when a few of us were discussing this survey, someone else was going, well, maybe many of them prefer it, or what's that saying? Better the devil you know. And it's like, well, I suppose in some ways it's good to know what the devil's up to, but the devil can pull a few surprises and knows how to pull a few drawstrings so that things turn out differently. I don't know, maybe I'm rambling on, but this was just a show because I found a lot of people recently have been in touch asking various kind of spiritual answers, yet at the same time when I give it to them, they're not willing to go that deep into what spiritual warfare all is. We all want easy answers, but life, the world, the universe is far more complicated than people believe. So thank you for listening to my little ramble. Thank you for watching. Thank you for buying my books and Exercising Witches. It's still available. Thank you very much, and peace, love and harmony to one and all.